The scene begins with Pam's narration about the past, mentioning a town hundreds of miles and thousands of years ago, and there was a fence all around the town, beyond which the creatures lived. Inside the fence was a young boy who had no idea how special he was because he was too young to understand. It turns out Pam is referring to Jason. She goes on to say that the little boy was Wayward Pines' firstborn son, raised by a kind, clever man, David, and herself. They loved him as if he was their own son, teaching him the important lessons of the new world. And so the boy grew, exploring and studying. But his world began to feel smaller as he grew. He didn't enjoy his friends' company, but Megan encouraged him, telling him that he's special, and that all of the children will be staying behind him in the future. Back in the present, we see the residents of the town debating the disappearance of Abbeys. However, Carrie is skeptical that the Abbeys have vanished, to which Jason responds that they have retreated because there haven't been any fence attacks for 2 days. Carrie believes that more testing is required, but Jason believes that the flamethrower worked. She claims that if Ben dies, Jason will be accused of murdering a first-generation member. Later that night, Jason and his girlfriend are having some private time when they hear a noise. Jason grabs his gun and makes his way downstairs, only to find Pam, who is now in her 70s. It is revealed that Jason exiled Pam to a creepy house on the outskirts of town after she murdered her own brother because he was turning into a despot. Jason inquires her about what she is doing here despite their agreement of not meeting ever again. Pam then explains the reason why she killed her own brother and asks Jason to reinstate her in the Brain Trust because she still wants to contribute to the betterment of Wayward Pines. Surprisingly, Jason agrees and announces Pam's rehire as a nurse in front of the entire town. However, the residents of the town, including Carrie, Megan, and Dr. Yedlin, do not appear to be pleased. Following this, we see Pam return to work at the hospital with a cheerful attitude and a beaming smile, as well as making inappropriate remarks about Dr. Yedlin's marriage. However, as he does act strangely when she steals a syringe and heads to the headquarters. Upon reaching there, she is stealing some concoction when she is approached by Megan. Pam quickly conceals the concoction in her pocket and apologizes for murdering her role model, David. As soon as Pam leaves, Megan checks the shelf and discovers that a concoction is missing. As a result, she calls Dr. Yedlin to apprehend Pam. After this, Pam returns home, pulls out her red dress and injects herself. Later, Jason, Carrie, CJ, and a few other soldiers are having a private meeting when Pam arrives. She greets Jason with a kiss and joins in on the meeting. Shortly after, the meeting is interrupted by Dr. Yedlin and Megan. Dr. Yedlin reveals that the concoction she stole contains smallpox, and that she is capable of infecting everyone. Hearing this, Jason asks the guards to take her in custody. As she is apprehended, she admits that this is not the world she wanted to build. She claims that the people are turning against one another, and that even Jason, whom she practically raised, has become a tyrant. She now wants everyone to die and put an end to all of this. She gives him 2 choices, either to kill her or else she will carry out her plan. Left with no other option, Jason takes her into the woods and unwillingly chokes her to death. On the other hand, Megan is encouraging students of Wayward Pines to begin pairing up from now on because they have to carry on the generations. Meanwhile, Dr. Yedlin, who has come to terms with living in the Wayward Pines, is talking with his wife, sharing with her about his father. He says that he promised to have beer with his father once a week 2 centuries ago. But now, it's all gone. In the next scene, we see Xander, the undercover insurgent who was exiled with Ben and Dr. Yedlin in previous episodes. He regains consciousness and finds himself in a hole in the ground. Following this, he attempts to climb out of the hole. He is almost able to get out of it when an Abby jumps into him, causing him to fall back into the hole. The Abby also jumps into the hole to devour him, but Xander somehow manages to put it in a sleeper hold and squashes its head with a rock, killing it. He then climbs out of the hole and heads to a river in order to satisfy his thirst. At the same time, he gets held at knife point by none other than Ethan's former boss, Adam Hessler. Adam has long hair and a beard, appearing that he has been out there for a long time. It is revealed that he, along with several other people, were sent beyond the fence by David to find other people in the barren wasteland that has become Earth. But now, he is the only one left. At Jason's headquarters, Megan reports to Jason that they have 25 pregnancies in the 3rd trimester, 34 in the 2nd trimester, 19 in the 1st, and 9 females who have become viable in the current month. Carrie asks Megan to submit the Abby's lab report by the end of the week, and suggests that she take the assistance of Dr. Yedlin in doing so. However, Megan does not appear to be content working with Dr. Yedlin, so she attempts to make an excuse, claiming that he is new and he may not have that level of expertise. Following this, CJ brings up the issue of ensuring a continuous supply of food and water. CJ believes that as Wayward Pines expands, the food supply must grow with it. He suggests picking more fields for harvesting foods, and to do so, they must conduct soil studies, measure sunlight, and determine where the seeds will thrive. Furthermore, he claims that this is a rare opportunity because the Abbas have retreated and they can work beyond the fence without fear. Carrie and Megan disagree with CJ because they are unsure about for how long the Abbas have retreated. However, Jason is convinced with CJ because food is the most important thing for people to survive, so he decides to work on it. On the other hand, the security guard discovers that Xander and Adam are still alive, so they open the gate and let them in. Following this, Adam is taken to the hospital, where he is treated for his minor injuries by Dr. Yedlin. Dr. Yedlin asks several questions about why he was beyond the fence, how long he stayed there, and so on. However, Adam dismisses all of his questions and claims that the Abbas are their replacements. Apparently, Adam is tormented by years of offing Abbas, and as a result, he is constantly reminded of his dangerous encounters with Abbas, which causes him to be disturbed. He then walks out of the hospital and hobbles around Main Street until he stops seeing Abbas everywhere. A few moments later, he comes across Teresa, who reminds him that Ethan is dead and Ben is missing since he is responsible for sending them into the future as Wayward Pines residents despite knowing it's a hell. Before departing, she claims that her family has gone just because of Adam. Meanwhile, Xander resumes operation of his sugar shack on Main Street. Soon after, Carrie approaches him to investigate if he is still against Jason. But now he assures Carrie that he is not out to cause more trouble with Jason and will not harm anyone else. He also claims that he will provide Jason with a detailed report on his experiences beyond the fence. Elsewhere, Dr. Yedlin tries to convince CJ not to go beyond the fence because he has seen the Abbas piling up and sacrificing their lives to enter the Wayward Pines. He warns CJ not to underestimate the Abbas and to avoid endangering the lives of the people. However, CJ has made up his mind and insists that they must seize the opportunity to secure their future and forge a new path. Following this, CJ and a few soldiers make a hopeful pilgrimage outside the Wayward Pines. On the way, Teresa stops them and requests CJ to take her along because she is still hoping to find her son, to which CJ agrees. Just then, Adam also tags along the ride. In the next scene, Megan is at a restaurant with one of her students, Frank. She explains to Frank that no one in the Wayward Pines should have any secrets, especially not with her. She tells him to be truthful and inquires about his sister, Lucy. Frank responds that Lucy is not ready for getting paired up, so he wants to protect his sister. However, Megan manipulates him with her words, saying that it is a natural part of life. She continues to encourage children, who are not even teenagers, to have babies. It appears that Lucy doesn't want to be a parent just yet, especially after she gets her first period, and begins to worry about having to do womanly things. A few moments later, Megan walks into Rebecca's salon, where Lucy works as Rebecca's assistant. She tries to persuade her to be paired up, but Rebecca notices this and stands for Lucy. Megan claims that every member of the community has a responsibility to ensure the human race's future, and that there may be some failure, which is why they must encourage the first generation to bear children as soon as possible. When Rebecca hears this, she responds that they can still preserve humanity and try to hold on to some at the same time. She also says that it is wrong to ask the children to bear children. After arguing for a while, Megan threatens with reporting her to Jason, but Rebecca doesn't appear to be affected by it. Following this, Rebecca brings Lucy to her place and decides to walk her to school the next day. Upon reaching back home, she informs Yedlin that Lucy will be staying with them for a few days. It is revealed that Lucy's parents were killed during an invasion, and she currently lives in an orphanage with her brother. She also discusses Megan's attempts to coerce the children into giving birth, which disappoints Yedlin. On the other hand, CJ and the group arrive at a place near a lake with beautiful scenery, where they decide to camp. Later that night, Adam walks into the woods, eventually finding Ben's corpse and returning it to camp. Seeing this, Teresa mourns the loss of her son and walks away. The next day at school, Lucy is pissed at her brother because he couldn't keep their things to himself. This causes him to ruminate and sulk for a while. Later at night, he walks out to snack a sandwich on Main Street. While eating, he notices the Ferris wheel briefly light up and spin around. After it cuts off, he finds an Abbey. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and hit that like button to help our channel grow. Turn on the notifications so you won't miss any of our new videos.